Hey everybody, Taylor Brown here with String Fairy. In this video series, we're going to make this soap animation in Blender EEVEE. In this part of the series, I'm going to make the soap, the dish, the backdrop, some basic materials, and light up the scene. Okay, so let's get started by deleting the default lamp and camera here. And I'm going to turn on screencast keys for you guys. That way you can follow along more easily. You see the text appear in the bottom corner here. And then let's scale this cube on the z-axis, so SZ, and the x-axis, so SX, until we get this shape that we want for the bar of soap. Somewhere around there is good. Okay. And then let's use the multi-resolution modifier. That way we can sculpt it later on. Multi-resolution. And then subdivide it somewhere around 6. Now this is way too much of an oval shape. So let's add some geometry in edit mode. So let's create some loop cuts until we get some square geometry instead of rectangles. Let's press Ctrl R and over the face here, and scroll on the middle mouse wheel until we get some squares here. Let's press Ctrl R right here above the face here, and then increase the segments somewhere around 2 is good. Now let's this is looking pretty good. So back into edit mode and then subdivide this one more time. Right click and subdivide. That is looking fantastic. Okay. Now what about that text? Well, let's add a text here, move it up, type in whatever you want. We'll type in a string. And then I'm going to add some extrude and then some bevel. And move this to the side here. And then add some shearing. Like so. And then let's change the font up after saving the file. File, save as. Let's save in the soap file here. And call the project file soap animation. Save as Blender file. Okay. Now for the font, I'm using fontsquirrel.com. And I'm going to download Babus. But you can use any font from this website. Okay. Now let's save that font into that file here. Babus. Let's extract it. And then let's open up that font in here. Babus regular. That looks great. Scale down, and then just shift down on the z-axis, so GZ. Then let's copy it, Shift D, move it down on the y-axis, so GY. Type in some other word like fairy. Okay. Now we see that if we rotate this object here, the text isn't following. So let's select one of the pieces of text, then shift left click to select the other piece of text with it, and then lastly shift left click the bar of soap, and then press Ctrl P, set parent to object. These are the children, and this is the parent. Okay. Let's add a background here. So Shift A, mesh, plane, move it down, scale it up, Then let's render this out. Let's add some basic lights to the scene. So Shift A, light, EEVEE light, move it up on the Z axis, so GZ. And then increase the power to something like 1000. And then use a constraint, damped track. And use the negative Z axis. Then target the bar of soap here. This way the light follows the object, no matter where we put it at. It's looking pretty good. Now, let's change the render settings here. Add ambient occlusion for the shadows around the crevices of the object here. We can see that better if we increase this factor to something like 7. And the distance as well. Let's change this back to something like 1 or 2. And then let's add some bloom for the glare. Raise the threshold here. That way it's only in the most intense areas. Add screen space reflections here. And soft shadows. And then we can always increase the softness of the shadows using the light options here and softness. We can also add context shadows here as well. Let's just copy the light to the side. And then let's get into the materials. Now let's just add a new material called soap. Give it a pink. And some subsurface as well. Give this subsurface color the same pink. Make it a little bit more red. And then let's make the text have the same material. Select the text here. Shift left click the other piece of text. Then shift left click again on the soap bar. And Control L, make links with the materials. Perfect. Now let's create that dish here. Let's move this up, GZ. And because we parented the text to the soap bar, all we need to do is move the soap bar up and the text follows. Let's add the dish here. So Shift A, mesh cube, and just go to top view and wireframe mode, the wireframe, and scale it to the shape of the soap bar. SX, SC, move it up, SC. Okay, let's delete the top face here. This way it's a dish. And let's add a bevel modifier. Let's change the width here. Now we see that the bevel is it's working, but it's stretching as if we still have the cube shape instead of a rectangle, and then it's stretched after the bevel. So we need to apply the scale. Control A, apply the scale, and now the bevel is fixed. Let's apply this bevel here. And then let's create a lip around the edge of this object here. So let's add a solidify modifier. Increase the thickness. Somewhere on there is good. And then apply the solidify. And then let's delete the faces here underneath the rim. So Shift Alt left click to grab the flow of faces, and X to delete the faces. Now to grab the bottom faces, all we need to do is select one of the faces on the bottom here, and then press Ctrl L to select all the connected faces. Ctrl L, and then X, delete faces. Perfect. Now let's add a solidify modifier again, because right now it's paper thin. Solidify, increase the thickness here. Somewhere in there is good. And use even thickness as well. And then let's add a subdivision surface here. Increase it to something like 3. And smooth shade it, like so. And let's add a bevel to the rim here. That way it's looks more crisp around the edges. Add a bevel. Move it above the subdivision. Change it to have angle limit method. And change the width. Somewhere around there is good. Let's use 1 segment. Perfect. Okay, now let's give this a basic metallic shader. Let's call this metal. Just give it a metallic. Render it out. Just make it more chrome. Like so. Now the backdrop should be black here. So let's create a new material here. Let's give it a black color for now. And then let's create the watery soapy surface that's layering on top of this bar. So let's go to viewport shading here. And then let's hide this object here, pressing H. And then let's copy the bar of soap here, Shift D. And because we won't be sculpting it, let's just use the subdivision surface here instead. Move it up for now. And then let's give this a new material here. Delete the soap material, create new, and call it watery surface. And give it a glass. Smooth shade it. Render it out. And let's use refraction here. And turn on refraction in here as well. Now, we see that it is refracting the bar of soap inside of the object. But we want this to be refracting unevenly. So what we can do is add a displacement modifier. Click new. Then click the little icon over here to reach the texture tab. Then choose clouds. And change the size. And then apply the scale. And change the strength here. Something like 0.2 or even 0.1. Move this down. Rename this watery surface here. And scale it up. And scale on the x-axis so that it's scaled off of it evenly. Apply the scale. Something like that's good. Let's lower this down to something like 0.05 instead. Then let's parent it to the bar of soap. Shift left click, Control P, set parent to object. Now it will follow it. Let's go to solid mode. Then let's create some bubbles for the text as well. So Shift D for the text, move it up, and let's convert this to an object here. Because right now, if we add a displacement here, we don't even get the option for it. So let's convert this to a mesh. Now we have displacement here. But this is incredibly bad geometry here. We don't have squares. We have a bunch of really long triangles. That's really bad for displacement. It doesn't know how to make the operation. So let's remesh this first. Remesh. Move it up. Let's take off displacement right now. And then let's set the arc-tree depth a little bit higher. And change the threshold here. Or just remove this option here. And change the mode to smooth. And that's pretty good. Let's give that the same watery surface material. Smooth shade it. Let's add a subdivision surface here. Move it above the displacement here. Then click new for the displacement and change the texture to clouds. And turn this on again. And then just change the size here. And change the strength here as well. Something like 0.1. Okay. Then we can move this down here. GZ. And now we see that it's not surrounding the text very well. What we can do is apply the remesh. And then go into edit mode. Select all, then press Alt-S to scale along the normals here until it surrounds the text, or at least a little bit better. And it's okay if it's not entirely surrounding the text because it's going to be one to look like bubbles, which are going to be uneven. Let's render it out. That's good. Then let's do the same for this text right here. Shift D, move it up, convert it to a mesh, add remesh, deselect this checkbox here, change the depth, change the mode to smooth here, apply it, scale along the normals here, A, Alt S, drag the mouse. And then let's copy the same modifier from this one here. So shift left click and Control L, make links with the modifiers. Then smooth shade this, move this down. Then make links with the materials here. Control L again, make links with the materials. Render it out. That is looking really nice. Let's unhide the dish here. And then let's give the watery surface here some iridescence. Let's open up the shader editor here. Shader editor right here. And then add a noise texture. And with the node wrangler installed in the add-ons here, we can view each node by pressing Control Shift and left click. And press Control T to add a texture setup here. Control T. Let's use the reflection coordinate. Now we get that iridescence. Let's apply the scale on all these objects here. Select all, Control A, scale. That's looking better. Go edit mode and press Alt S. Scale on normals a little more. And then let's change the scale here. And let's plug us into the color of the glass here. Then let's press Control Shift left click again to plug us into the material output automatically. Now this is way too dark right now, so what we can do is grab a mix RGB, plug it between the noise texture and the glass here, plug this into the bottom color socket here, then choose white for the top color, completely white with a value of 1, and then set the blend type to color. And what this is doing is that it's keeping the value of 1, but it's using the color from this texture right here in the bottom color socket. Move this over, just reduce the overall influence of the noise here. Somewhere there is good. Then we can always change the IOR as well. Okay. And that is all for this part of the series.